Welcome to the program. I'm Jessica Van Vonderen. First tonight to the federal election campaign, and both sides are gearing up for the final week of a battle that's still too close to call. After a day in Sydney's west, the opposition leader Tony Abbott has headed to Western Australia. The Prime Minister was also in Western Sydney today, but will be back in Brisbane on Sunday for Labor's official campaign launch on Monday. Matt Peacock reports.
We have 30 laptops, and when we all view the same website, it can become a bit slow. What are your party's plans for high speed?
They're a very smart class, aren't they?
Both sides of politics were emphasising education today, and both were offering fistfuls of dollars. Labor's promising $354 million for job training, including tax-free cash bonuses to encourage apprentices.
At the end of their first 12 months, they receive $1,000. At the end of their second 12 months, another $1,000. When they finish their third year, $1,200, and when they have completed, $1,500. And we know that incentives to complete make a difference, but we also know young people in apprenticeships need that extra support and mentoring.
And the coalitions matched Labor's earlier promise to reward good teachers with a $200 million education fund of its own.
We're not going to solve all the problems immediately, but we do want to put a fund in place to which principals can apply that will enable the best teachers to get paid significantly more.
But the argument about where the money comes from continues, with Treasurer Wayne Swan insisting that the coalition leader submit his costings for Treasury scrutiny by tonight, in accordance with the Charter of Budget Honesty introduced by the Halloward government.
What we've had today is a series of dog-ate-my-homework excuses from the Liberals as to why they will not submit their proposals to the Treasury finance process. I'll tell you why they won't submit them, because there are huge cost blowouts which are a threat to the surplus.
All of our policies will be independently costed, and the independent verdict on our policies will be released, but unless the government takes appropriate action against this criminal leak, we cannot trust this government to do the job properly.
The government's case itself seemed to be weakened by the admission that some of its promises yet to be announced also might not be submitted.
There will always be some policies that will be announced next week. That happens and was envisaged within the Charter. Some of those may be or may not be costed.
This morning, Wayne Swan gave the coalition an ultimatum to deliver all its policies to Treasury by 5:30 today. I say to Mr Swan, why aren't you keeping to that ultimatum yourself?
Today's announcement from Mr Abbott is nothing more, nothing less than when it comes to education, it's cut, cut, cut.
We've had the guts to say to the Australian people, look, we will spend this extra money, but it is going to be affordable, and it's going to be affordable because here are the spending reductions that will fund it.
G'day, hi, how are you?
Later in the day, Prime Minister Julia Gillard intensified her attack on what she called the coalition's billion-dollar cuts.
What he's talking about is cutting our Computers in Schools program so tens of thousands of kids around the country would miss out. What he's talking about is cutting our Trades Training Centres program.
In Alice Springs, the government announced a boost to Aboriginal and Islander-controlled health services, while the coalition pledged to fast-track boarding school facilities for Indigenous students and to abolish the decades-old permit system for entry to Aboriginal communities. And for a public tired of the usual political mudslinging, there came a rare note of civility at a debate between the Attorney-General, Robert McClelland, and his shadow, George Brandis.
Can I say it's been really a pleasure to be the Shadow Minister to Robert McClelland, because although we have differences on issues of substance and of performance, Robert is a decent man and has done his best to be a competent Attorney-General.
Just in giving George a praise, look, I have to say if it wasn't for George as a shadow Attorney-General, I think we would have had real trouble removing discrimination against same-sex couples and their children from some 80 different pieces of legislation. I think we would have also had difficulty passing, really, which was quite historic, a law to prohibit capital punishment.
With past Prime Ministers still making cameo appearances on the campaign trail, a weekend television appearance to come from Kevin Rudd could cut either way.
How are you?
I'm fine.
All things must end.
Yeah, sometimes sooner than you think.
As both sides gear up for the final frantic week of their campaigns, it's still anybody's race, with even the prospect of a hung parliament, with the Greens and independents like Rob Oakeshott holding the balance of power.
The big issue for the next 3 years in the parliament will be stability and will be whether a parliament can actually deliver outcomes. And so the makeup of the lower house and the upper house is going to be critical.